Hey Sagittarius, welcome to Pure Tarot. So I'm doing a reading on 22/02/2022. It's such a beautiful play on numbers, right? So I've segregated all the 4 2s out of one deck. We're going to draw one of those as an overarching energy. I have 2 decks, one in English, one in French that I've created. I'm going to draw a card out of each. All of those will be read upward. And then we're going to draw 3 tarot cards to clarify. Those will be a mix of upright and reversed cards. So we're looking at what is coming through for you on this auspicious day. And let's just jump in. The 2 of Swords, Sagittarius. Let's draw an English card. What is surrounding Sagittarius on 22/02/22? I have 2 cards. I'm actually going to take both just because there's 2. So like more of the 2 energy, right? Or the energies of the 2, I should say. Let's draw a French card. If you didn't see the words, I will show you. And then 2 flipped. I'm going to take both. I guess the decks wanted everything symmetrical, right? Okay, so the words in English are intentional and unforgettable. Okay. And then here on the French side, we have helix and vitality. So the shape of a helix and vitality, like your DNA, it's really interesting. That's really interesting. So on the 2 of Swords in this deck, there's the word peace at the bottom. So that's an interesting take, obviously, right? 2 of Swords, usually you would think there's a bit of restlessness attached to not being able to make a choice, right? In this case, not making a choice is making you stand still, and being in that stillness creates peace. It is not making you either, like on the 2 of Coins, you know, you're juggling, so one side goes up, the other one, and then it, like a seesaw, right? But there's the fact that you're juggling. On the 2 of Swords, it's really what you call a the word is eluding me. You cannot choose, but one thing doesn't overpower the other, right? And sometimes that's what makes the choice difficult, is that you're not able to pick because both things are equivalent, or at least seem to be equivalent. So on the left hand side, intentional and unforgettable. It's interesting, the word intentional. There's a lot of, I want to say there's willpower obviously attached to being intentional. It's also like the idea of being deliberate. And also the creativity linked to initiating an intention, right? Of sparking an intention. You're in the creation mode when you create, like when you emit an intention. So I want to say that there's something that you are, I want to say, thinking about because of the Two of Swords, right? I think it's really beautiful that your eyes are covered with the blindfold because you're able to go inward and draw really deeply to what it is that you are focusing your energies towards, like into which intention, like which intention are you specifically nurturing and or at least picking and then putting out there. I don't know, it feels like you're you're selecting. There's something about a very precise selection on this card. And I get this idea from the word unforgettable that's attached to it. There's something that you want to create. So the unforgettable goes both ways. It's unforgettable because the specific intention you know is different from the others, as well as you see the way it can unfold, right? And you know that it has some sort of what's the right word? It has an impact. Something that will be I have the word like significant. And then here on the other side on the right hand side, it's really interesting. It's really the helix of, I'm really seeing the DNA sequence. Well, the two spirals, right? The helix of, and it's life, it's vitality, it's literally something that would be, first of all, your DNA is so unique, right? So it's definitely something crazy unique. Something absolutely fundamental, something that would be the deepest expression of you. It's literally a sliver of your life force being exposed, being utilized, being sort of emphasized, expressed. It's really interesting because I was describing to you how this Two of Swords, right? The two sides, they're equivalent, and it's really, for me, there's not even two sides really, although there is two sides on the table, but it's almost like this intention that you know will be impactful is the expression of who you are at your core. And in that sense, it's a homogeneous idea here or message. There's no two sides, right? And it comes from being still and at peace with yourself. And almost like it's okay that your eyes are closed, in the sense that I don't read it as being blind. I read it as having a different kind of sight, right? It's the inner sight, the one that comes from within. almost psychic, you know. Let's get the tarot now. If you don't see the cards, don't worry, I will show you. Two cards, I'm gonna take them. Let me take them. So they came on the side, I don't know, you might not be able to see, but they came horizontal. So I'm gonna turn them upright. So Death in reverse, Ten of Swords in reverse, Hierophant, and the Six of Cups. It's really interesting. Death in reverse. It's really strange, the words that I'm getting. I'm getting the word immortality, and it ties in with unforgettable, right? So there's something really, really strong about the intention that you're choosing to exploit and to explore and to express has the potential of living on. It's really powerful. It's like the type of, you know, what you call legacy, intellectual. It doesn't have to be legacy like in terms of your belongings. It could be like intellectual legacy. Why not emotional, spiritual, whatever. There's some form of making your mark on the world and being remembered. It's really insane. Ten of Swords in reverse. It's really interesting. I sense pain. I also sense masochism in the sense of maybe it's not quite masochism. It's more, okay, it's not welcoming pain, okay? It's not that. So it's not masochism. It's more tolerating the pain in order to break through the peace, right? So as you stand still, as you're blindfolded, as you're turned inward, there's a process of suffering, learning from your suffering, learning from the pain that you've experienced, being able to tolerate, you know, being able to get through it, you know, without dying. knowing you're going to come out of it. So there's definitely quote unquote a rough patch. There's something that needs to be burnt. I use the word burnt, but it could be chopped away, it could be sliced away. There's swords, right? So meaning it has to be released overall. I mean, doesn't matter the kind of verb. Also remember, it has to do with thoughts, most likely with thoughts. And then here, the Hierophant and the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups being, back to your DNA, back to your childhood, back to your youth, back to, you can even go back as far as the embryo if you want, or even maybe, the embryo. It's deeply spiritual. It's sort of, connecting your higher self with your lower self. The Hierophant is a structured, spiritual, quote unquote, I'm going to use the word organization, but it's just the fact that it's structured, right? And manifest. And the DNA, the helix, is definitely a structure. And it's definitely manifest as well, right? So it's really interesting. The two cards are really similar. It's the helix with the Hierophant, and then the vitality with the Six of Cups. Being youthful and like fresh, new, and it's really interesting. I wonder, I did mention, maybe having the inner vision of being able to be a bit of a psychic, right? I mean, there is a tinge of that, at least being greatly drawn to spirituality, philosophy, religion, dogma, doctrines. It's really interesting. There's something about deep research. There's something about building this idea that is so defining to the rest of the world, that has potential of being perennial. It's really interesting because it's as simple as being childlike, like it comes like out of you, out of a place of being childlike, and yet it requires you to structure this sort of energy or whatever, inspiration, or I don't know. There's a huge, very advanced level sort of process that is being done to this in order to translate it into this particular intention that is unforgettable to others. It's very symbolic. I mean, it could take on so many forms. One of them could be art. All kinds of arts, right? And it could be artistic, like, you know, painting, music, la la la, but it could also be the art, esoterically speaking, for instance. That's possible. But it's really interesting. You walk, you have to go through suffering to get to your peace. And once you attain peace, this thing unfolds. I don't know, it's like I said, it's a homogeneous, it reconciles itself. It's quite an interesting read, Sagittarius. Very, very symbolic. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for listening. Good night.